Good morning. Welcome to Wildly Domestic. It's another beautiful Sunday morning. Definitely a little chilly today, but it's when you're in the sun, it's not so bad. What I'd like to discuss today is labeling. There can be a lot of confusion over product labels that read natural, organic, local, GMO, non-GMO. So I just wanted to help decipher those a little bit. So one of the first rules of grocery shopping, they always say, is to keep to the outside of the store, around the edges where the produce is and the meats are, and the deli section and the dairy. And that's really a good rule of thumb, because you can avoid a lot of the labeling confusion if you stick to that section. If you do venture inwards, you've got the issues of things that say natural on them. Generally, natural really doesn't mean anything anymore as far as the marketing world. It's just a term to try and sell products. There is no regulation for that word. So you can basically say just about anything is natural, since if you follow it down the chain, it was probably at one point derived from some sort of natural plant or animal or mineral source. But, what it looks like now is nothing like what it actually came from as the source. So things that say natural, and you kind of want to just avoid that, or at least not be taken in by that, and still, look at the packaging, read the ingredients, see if it's something that you would still want to purchase anyway. Lately, there's been a whole lot of talk over the GMO, non-GMO. It's still sort of undetermined what any sort of long-term effects are. Personally, I think it might be best just to kind of stay clear of the GMO, the genetically modified organism. That's what it stands for. It might be best just to steer clear of that as much as you possibly can in your diet. I mean, there are some things like seedless watermelons are technically genetically modified, because it's, obviously watermelons don't naturally grow without seeds in them, because seeds is how they reproduce. So, keeping that in mind, though, I think it's still best to try and keep your GMO consumption to a minimum. Because there's definitely a difference between hybridization, like they do with like seedless watermelons and fruits and things like that, versus trying to make things larger, and when you get away from the whole crossbreeding and hybridization and sort of start getting into the whole laboratory aspect of it, that's kind of when you might want to steer clear a little bit, because at least until we know what sort of long-term ramifications it has. But anyway, organic. Organic is another term that is kind of a little hard to pin down. If something says it's certified organic, like certified Oregon tilth, I think that's one of them. I don't remember what the others are, but there are a number of certifying bodies for organic food. So if you see something that says organic and it's got the little stamp on it for Oregon Tilth or whatever other organization, then I'd say it's pretty safe to say that there is at least a few organic ingredients in there. I don't know exactly what the proportion has to be before you can call a product organic. Sometimes you can see something that's not marked organic, but when you look at the ingredients, there are organic ingredients inside. So again, it's mostly about being a smart consumer and reading it to see what's in it and deciding whether that's something that you really want to buy based on the ingredients listed. I kind of try and stick to the whole thing. If I don't recognize it as a food ingredient, then maybe it's best to kind of stay away from it. But also, being someone who's allergen-free, who can't have anything with dairy in it, who's gluten-free, and who's also nut-free, I do kind of run into some issues when it comes to unknown ingredients in my foods, especially for substitute flours and substitute milks. It's a little bit hard to navigate, but still, you do the best you can, and you research things, and you figure out what exactly it means, what exactly it is. So, now, going back to the outside of the store, organic is a lot easier to understand there, because if you know organic milk or organic eggs or organic fruits and vegetables, you know that that comes from, that was grown in a certain way to not contain pesticides, or the meat or the animals were fed in a certain way so that their food would not contain pesticides, and they were raised in a certain way. So organic is definitely easier to understand there. Local, sometimes I think local is more important than organic, because when you go for local, a lot of times it usually comes from a small farm that's nearby, family owned usually. And when you go for that, a lot of the smaller local farms, they might have organic practices, but they won't necessarily have the capability to go through the process of getting the certification. So, that's another thing. It's kind of good to, if you can, go to farmers markets and sort of get to know the people in your area who do grow, and that way you can kind of discuss with them what their growing practices are. But if you don't really have the ability to do that, either for convenience reasons or for time reasons or for locality, then still, it is best when you see something local in the produce section to go for the local. Another thing is grass-fed. Animals, especially livestock animals, they're really not meant to be eating grain. Their stomachs aren't designed for that. They're ruminants. That means they're supposed to eat and chew grass all day, and grain is very acidic to them, and that can give them health problems and cause problems with the quality of the meat and the milk and the eggs that they're producing. So it is best when you can to buy meat that is grass-fed, or eggs that come from grass-fed chickens, or even better yet, pasture-raised. That way you know that they were allowed to, they're not kept up in nests the whole time. They're not just kept inside a barn. They actually have room outside to roam. Because that's the thing, even cage-free anymore, as long as an animal's not sitting in a cage, they can call it not cage-free, but the animal might only have about, 10 square feet, or even less than that, sometimes 5 square feet to roam around. But they're not in a cage, so it can still be considered cage-free. And, if they're fed organic food in a cage-free environment, they could still be eating grains and be squished in and not be really the best quality that you want your meat or your food to come from, your eggs and your milk and whatnot. So it really is best to try and get pasture-raised eggs and grass-fed meats and whatnot. And of course, this stuff does cost a little extra, but I think in the long run it's definitely worth it, because you're looking at, you're getting a better quality product. So your food's going to taste better, you're going to be getting more nutrients out of it. And yes, and there are some studies that say that the nutrient increase is minimal. But there's also the ethical issue of, personally for me it's important that my food comes from an ethical source. You want the ground to be, the ground and the earth and the plants and the animals to be treated well. And I think that's extremely important. So besides for quality and taste and health reasons, there's also the ethical benefit of that as well, which I think is really important. But so that's labeling in a nutshell. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can post in the comments below. And thank you for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.